All right, so this review we're going to look at solving formulas. Before we do that, we got to look and see what exactly is a formula. Well, a formula is just an equation that allow you to put in values and get out a solution. There are many, many formulas in the world that'll give you many, many solutions. We're going to look at it with a series of examples here, and the first formula we're going to look at is finding the area of a rectangle. Now, the formula for finding area of a rectangle will be given to you, and the formulas will usually be given to you, so our area formula is length times width. How do we use that formula? Well, here's our rectangle. We need to determine which is the length and which is the width. We have these numbers. Usually we say the longest side is the length and the shortest side is the width. There's L and there's W. So let's use our formula to find the area. The area would be given with this formula. Area equals L times W. And what's our length? Well, our length is 30 and the width is 20, and it's actually 30 centimeters, and that becomes important when we have units, times 20 centimeters. So when we multiply the numbers together, we get 600 centimeters. And because it's area, we have 2 centimeters that we're multiplying together. It's centimeters squared. So the area of this rectangle is 600 centimeters squared. Let's just go over a quick review of the different kind of formulas. Now, these formulas will always be given to you. It's always better if you have them memorized, but you always will be given them. Let's look at a rectangle. Well, we just did area, length times width, and the perimeter would be 2 length plus 2 width. There's the length, there's the width. We would just plug in the values. What if we have a square? Well, a square is just a rectangle where both sides are the same. So this side we can call S. If they're all squared, then every side is an S, and the formula is just area equals S squared. So this represents an S, and this represents an S, so it's S squared. Same as length times width. Perimeter, 4 S's, add them all up. Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Base is usually the bottom. Here's the height. We would just plug them into our equation. What about a circle? Circle is one that's a little bit different. A circle, the area of a circle is given by pi r squared. Now you may have before in the past used 3.14. We're going to use the pi button on your calculator. And the circumference of a circle, which is also the perimeter of a circle, is 2 pi r. Remember, r in a circle represents the radius. And the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any edge of the circle. And the radius of a circle is always the same. So there's r. There's our 2D equations. What about 3D? Well, we have different shapes here. We have a cube, we have a prism. Let's start with the cube. A volume of a cube is all 3 sides multiplied together, S times S times S. So this is an S, this is an S, and this is an S. Oh, sorry, down here, this one down here. So that's what we do for a cube. For the volume, surface area, what does the surface area represent? Well, surface area is all the sides, so it would be this front face, and this front, and this front, and the one in between, the ones behind, so it's 6s squared. What about this next shape? Now, this looks like a cube. It's actually a rectangular cube, or known as a rectangular prism. Volume of a rectangular prism is just length times width times height. That's all there is to it. Surface area is given by 2L, 2 times length times width, plus 2 times width times height, plus 2 times length times height. Then we have these more unique shapes. A cylinder. Cylinder is like a tin can. If we want to find the volume of a cylinder, what we need is we need the height of the cylinder, how tall it is, and we also need the radius of the cylinder. And then we would use this equation. Volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times height. Surface area is given by this equation. Cone, same thing. We need the height, and the height is from the middle down to the edge, and the radius is here. Those are the measurements that we'll need to find the volume of a cone. And what about a sphere? And a sphere is just like a ball. Well, for a sphere, what we need, again, is always the radius. So anytime you have a circular object or piece of a circle, like in a cone or a cylinder, we always need the radius, and there's the equation for radius of a sphere. Again, those formulas will be given to you. We just have to know how to use them. Let's look at an example. Find the surface area of this cylinder if it has a height of 10 centimeters and a radius of 3 centimeters. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the easy one using the first equation here, volume. And the volume is given by pi times r squared times h. And once I have the equation, now I just have to plug in my values. Well, what does the question tell us? Well, the height here is 10 centimeters. And we're told the radius is 3 centimeters. Well, we'll just plug our values in. We have pi, and again, that we're going to push on the pi button on the calculator. What's the radius? The radius is 3 centimeters squared, and the height is 10 centimeters. Now, when we put this into our calculator, we have to do order of operations. So we need to go 3 squared times 10 times pi. And if you do that calculation, you're going to get out 282.7, that would be rounded to 1 decimal, centimeters. And now because it's volume, it's going to be cubed. Anytime we're dealing with volume, it's going to be a cubic unit. That's it. That's how we use the formula to find the volume. What about the surface area? Surface area, I'm just going to look at this equation over here. Surface area is 2 times pi times r squared plus 2 times pi times r times h. Plug in the numbers. That's all we have to do. 2 pi. Our radius in this case is 3, and I'm just going to put the numbers in this time. You can put the units if you like. Plus 2 pi. Radius is 3. Height is 10. And if I go to my calculator, oh, I forgot my squared here. Don't want to forget that. When I put that all in the calculator, I'm going to get 245.0, and because we're dealing with area, it's centimeters squared units. So pretty straightforward. We just take the formula and plug in the values as we go. Now, that also applies if we have this type of formula, where we're told what an expression is, and we have to plug in the numbers. Now, for this one, we have to evaluate 2x squared minus 3y, and we're told the numbers. Remember, all the variable does is represent a number. So if it represents a number, we're just going to replace this x with -2. So we're going to have 2 times -2 squared minus 3, haven't touched that, haven't changed that, times y, which is 6. Now I have to do order of operations. 2 times 4 minus 3 times 6. And 2 times 4 is 8 minus 18. And now we can subtract those. 8 minus 18 is -10. So there's how we evaluate given an expression and the numbers. The last type of formula we're going to use, and you're going to use this a lot, is Pythagoras, or the Pythagorean theorem. Now, if you remember, Pythagoras involves triangles, and specifically right-angled triangles. If it's not a right angle, you can't use Pythagoras. Recall Pythagoras' theorem. Each side of these triangles represents a letter. This side's A, this side's B. Remember, those could be interchangeable. And this side's C. The C side, recall, is called the hypotenuse, and our formula is A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. There's Pythagoras. So what that means is if we have a right triangle and we have two sides, we can easily find the third. Let's look at an example. Let's find the unknown length. So we have a right triangle. We're told two lengths. We want to find the unknown length, which in this case, we're going to call B, because that's side B. Remember, we could have called it A if we wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you feel comfortable with. But I'm going to call it B. And once that's B, that means this side down here is A. And this side is C. And start with our equation. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Plug in our numbers. A in this case is 5 squared plus B we don't know, so we're just going to call it B squared. And C is 13, and we're going to square that. Now, 5 squared is 25. B squared is just B squared. And 13 squared is 169. Now what we have to do is we have to solve for B squared. If we want to get the 25 to the other side, we need to minus 25 from both sides. Oh, let's make that the right number, 25. And we're going to get B squared is equal to 169 minus 25, which is 144. Now, the last thing we have to recall is we want to get B by itself. We have B squared. We need to take the square root. Square root of 144, because we want to find some number that multiplies by itself to equal 144, which in this case is a nice even number, 12. If it was a decimal, we'd leave it as a decimal. So our unknown length is 12. That's how we use Pythagoras' theorem. And those are the types of formulas you're going to be using throughout this course.